How would you feel if you were convicted for a crime you did not commit? Just pause for a moment and try to imagine the sheer terror of that situation. The cold, hard walls of a prison cell closing in around you, your freedom snatched away, your reputation tarnished, and your loved ones left in distress. It's a scenario none of us would ever want to face, and yet it's a chilling reality for far too many individuals today. Wrongful convictions are not just about statistics, they're about lives uprooted, dreams shattered, and trust in our legal system eroded. They're about the loss of years that can never be reclaimed, and the trauma that can never be undone. Perhaps most worrying of all is the fact that this issue disproportionately affects certain communities. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but the truth remains that the scales of justice are not balanced for all. This is a reality for many individuals, especially within the African American community. Enter the Innocence Project, an organization that works tirelessly to free the staggering number of innocent people who remain incarcerated. This beacon of hope was founded in 1992 by Barry Scheck and Peter Neufeld. Its mission? To exonerate the wrongly convicted through DNA testing and to reform the criminal justice system to prevent future injustice. The Innocence Project is not just a name, it's a movement, a force for change. They've been instrumental in exonerating over 375 wrongfully convicted individuals in the United States alone. This includes 18 people who spent time on death row. Can you imagine? 18 lives saved from the brink of irreversible error. Their work goes beyond just freeing innocent individuals. They also strive to address the underlying issues in our criminal justice system that allow these wrongful convictions to occur. Racial bias, misconduct by law enforcement, false confessions, these are just a few of the many factors that contribute to this grave injustice. The Innocence Project's efforts have brought about substantial legislative reforms. They've helped pass over 150 laws in the United States to help prevent wrongful convictions. They've also played a crucial role in improving access to DNA testing, pushing for better eyewitness identification procedures, and advocating for the recording of all interrogations. But their work doesn't stop at the courtroom doors. They also support exonerees post-release, helping them rebuild their lives after years, sometimes decades of wrongful incarceration. The Innocence Project is a testament to the power of dedicated individuals to bring about change. It's a stark reminder of the flaws in our justice system, but also a beacon of hope for those who have been wrongfully convicted. Their work sheds light on a problem that is far too prevalent in our justice system. Let's take a trip back in time and look at some historical cases of wrongful convictions. First, let's journey back to the early 20th century, to the case of Ed Johnson. Johnson, an African-American man, was wrongfully convicted for the rape of a white woman in 1906. Despite a lack of evidence, Johnson was sentenced to death, a clear demonstration of the racial bias that existed within the legal system at the time. Following this, we moved to 1931 to the infamous case of the Scottsboro Boys. 9 African-American teenagers were falsely accused of raping 2 white women on a train. Even though one of the women later recanted her testimony, the boys were still convicted. This case drew worldwide attention to the racial prejudice deeply ingrained in the American justice system. Next, we turn to the case of Brown v. Mississippi in 1936, a landmark decision by the United States Supreme Court. Here, 3 African-American men were tortured by police until they confessed to a crime they didn't commit. The Supreme Court in this case held that confessions extracted by police violence could not be considered as evidence reflecting a small yet significant stride towards justice. In 1945, we encounter the case of Lena Baker, an African-American woman who was wrongfully convicted for the murder of her abusive employer. Baker, the only woman to be executed by electric chair in the state of Georgia, was granted a posthumous pardon 60 years later, highlighting the long-lasting effects of wrongful convictions. Lastly, we delve into the case of the Trenton Six in 1948. 6 African-American men were wrongfully convicted for the murder of a white shopkeeper, based solely on coerced confessions. It took years for the men to be exonerated, again illustrating the severe consequences of racial bias in the justice system. These cases are a stark reminder of the racial injustice that has been, and still is, prevalent in our criminal justice system. They serve as a testament to the countless lives that have been unjustly devastated due to racial bias and wrongful convictions. As we move forward, it is crucial to remember these cases, to ensure history does not repeat itself, and to strive for a justice system that is truly just for all. Or, It's not just a problem of the past, wrongful convictions are still happening today. In the here and now, we find ourselves grappling with a justice system that continues to falter, causing innocent lives to be swept into a whirlwind of confusion, fear, and injustice. The Innocence Project, a beacon of hope in these stormy seas, has brought to light numerous cases of wrongful convictions in recent years. Let's take a moment to consider the case of Richard Phillips, for example. He spent 46 years in prison for a murder he did not commit, making him the longest-serving wrongfully convicted person in U.S. history. He was exonerated in 2018, but the years stolen from him can never be returned. Then, there's the story of Ladura Watkins. He spent more than 4 decades behind bars for a crime he did not commit. Thanks to the tireless efforts of the Innocence Project and new forensic evidence, he was finally able to walk free in 2017. These are not isolated incidents. They are emblematic of a systemic issue that continues to plague our justice system. Consider the case of David Ranta, a white man wrongfully convicted for the murder of a rabbi in Brooklyn. He spent 23 years in prison before being exonerated. Or consider the plight of the many Hispanic, Asian, and Native American individuals who have also fallen victim to wrongful convictions. The sad reality is that wrongful convictions are not exclusive to any race or ethnicity. They are a widespread problem, a failing of our legal system that impacts us all, regardless of who we are or where we come from. It's easy to think of these as mere statistics, numbers on a page. But behind each number is a person, a life disrupted, a family torn apart. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of these errors, a cost that is too high for any society that values justice and fairness. The struggle for justice continues, and it's a struggle that concerns us all. But it's not enough to just be aware of the problem. We need to act. And action starts with each one of us, with you and me. It starts with recognizing that a problem exists, that our criminal justice system is not as just as we would like it to be. But awareness, as crucial as it is, only takes us so far. We need to take steps to move from passive observers to active participants in the fight for justice. So, how can we do this? How can we contribute to a change that seems so vast, so overwhelming? Firstly, we can support organizations that are already making a difference. Groups like the Innocence Project are on the front lines, working tirelessly to exonerate the wrongfully convicted and reform the system that put them behind bars in the first place. They need our help. They need our voices, our time, and our resources. Donating, volunteering, or even just sharing their message can make a world of difference. Secondly, we can advocate for policy changes. This might sound daunting, but it's not as complicated as it seems. It's about contacting your local representatives, signing petitions, and voting in elections. It's about making your voice heard and demanding a system that values truth and justice over conviction rates. You don't need to be a lawyer or a politician to do this. All you need is the will to make a difference. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we can educate others about the issue. We've all heard the saying, knowledge is power. In this case, knowledge can be the catalyst for change. Talk to your friends, your family, your colleagues. Share what you've learned and encourage them to do the same. It might feel like you're just a drop in the ocean, but remember, even the mightiest wave starts with a single ripple. Collective action is not just about the big gestures. It's about the small steps we take every day towards a common goal. It's about using our voices, our influence, and our resources to challenge the status quo and demand a better, fairer system. Because the truth is, wrongful convictions are not just a black issue or a white issue, they're a human issue. They're about innocent people losing years, even decades of their lives to a system that failed them. And that is something we should all be concerned about. But remember, change is not instantaneous. It's a process. It's slow, it's difficult, and it often feels like you're swimming against the tide. But every step, every action, every conversation brings us closer to a world where justice is not just a promise, but a reality. So, let's get to work. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive into the fight for a fairer, more just world. Because together, we can make a difference. Together, we can challenge the system and demand better. Together we can work towards a justice system that truly serves justice. It starts with you.